The Seahorse Effect by Seahorse. Chapter 34. The Final Verdict. About 3 hours later, Mace announced that the meeting was concluded and the various masters filed out of the room. Obi-Wan got up out of his chair, but was stopped by a tug on his consciousness. Looking back, he saw Yoda staring at him. He sighed and sat back down. When the chamber had emptied besides the two of them, Master Yoda asked,
"No, you did?"
Obi-Wan released a sigh and nodded.
"I did. Why did you?"
"Partly because I was afraid," he answered honestly. Hiding from Master Yoda wasn't worth the trouble. "The Jedi mean much to me, Master Yoda. I feared that my silence would be seen as approval of Anakin's actions, and that I would share his punishment."
"But the main reason it is not."
Obi-Wan sighed again. "Master Yoda, you know what he was like before. He was angry, disrespectful, flippant." He felt Yoda's reproaching gaze and altered his list of Anakin's faults. "When I first saw him when I went to visit, his Force presence and almost everything about him had changed."
A smile touched his lips.
"He was brighter than ever before, even when he was just a boy. I noticed some of the changes before he left, but—" He ran a hand through his ginger hair. "It was a bit staggering."
Yoda nodded.
"After you knew? What then?"
Obi-Wan ran a hand through his hair again and gestured to the room and other chairs. "I reacted the same way most of the council did, but he disabled both of our fighters and all the accessible comm systems, so I had to stay there. So since he had me trapped anyway, I decided to look closer into the matter to find out more about the shift in him and if the two things were connected."
"You did this how?"
Yoda penetrated the younger master with a stare older than all the masters of the council put together. "I looked at his Force presence and listened to his and Padme's reasons for doing all of this."
"Find something you did?"
"Yes," he answered, his mind going back to those moments. "Anakin told me that what he did to save Luke was no different than what a Jedi is meant to do." He just remembered not to mention Leia. If the council took Luke for training but expelled Anakin, that little girl would be all the couple had left. But Yoda shook his head.
"The same they are not. Compassion is a Jedi's calling, not feelings such as love. Too tangible are feelings."
"I said the same," Obi-Wan countered. "But Anakin told me that love is a choice, not just a feeling."
He thought back to that conversation in the kitchen on Docilium.
"Every day one chooses to put another's well-being and happiness before one's own. That is the kind of love he has for Luke."
"Luke?"
"His son."
He looked at the wizened master as he played one more card.
"Master Yoda, when I looked at his Force presence after he told me, I scanned some of the strands. The brightest, strongest strand of his Force presence was his love for Luke. Becoming a father has changed him for the better. I am certain of it."
Master Yoda nodded, but the wrinkles between his eyes were still deepened with worry.
"Still, broke the code he did. Set a precedent it would if we allowed him to remain."
Obi-Wan opened his mouth to speak again, but Yoda got to his feet, signaling an end to the conversation.
"Meditate on what you have said. I will."
Then Obi-Wan got up and they left the room together. "Jedi Skywalker," Mace said, "we have thought long and hard about your situation and how to resolve it. Masters Senshin and Kenobi examined your son and deemed him a good candidate for training. However," he continued, forestalling Anakin's gratitude, "you will not be the one to train him."
The young man's face fell, but he stood tall and asked, "Then who will be his master?"
Obi-Wan stood and answered,
"I will."
Anakin wanted to race over and hug the older man, but held his calm demeanor in place. Mace spoke again. "Normally, for breaking the code as you have, you would be expelled. But things have recently come to the attention of this council. These incidents and movements in the Force suggest that the code is in need of revision." Surprise flickered across Anakin's face. This was news to him, but Mace was still talking. "You will remain in the Order, but under the close scrutiny of the Council. In time, you may be deemed fit to go on missions, but you will never train an apprentice or have a seat on this council. For the present, you will be assigned to temple duties." End of The Seahorse Effect by Seahorse. If you enjoyed this recording or the content, feel free to leave a comment below or a review at the original story from the link in the descriptions. Thank you for listening.